Guess what I did the last month? Hello my dear friends, I'm Corey and welcome to this new video, a unboxing video of Battletech. As you might have wondered by looking at the boxes that I have conveniently put here in front of you on this table for no specific reason. Battletech. Every time I hear someone talking about Battletech is not from someone who played Battletech, but from people who are thinking to get into Battletech and then they never actually do it. For example, every time my experience was something like this. Oh yeah, I am tired of playing Warhammer 40k, I will start to play Battletech instead, because that's a real tabletop war game, and then they never play Battletech or talk about Battletech ever again, possibly after going to the nearest Games Workshop store and spending like $5,000 on miniatures. At least I believe this happened. But you know what? I was wondering to get into Battletech for a while now, and after a friend of mine asked me to print him some models for Battletech and handed me some STL files, well, I ended up printing some mechs for myself and decided that fate wanted me to get into Battletech. And so what a better occasion to do a video unboxing of all of the starter boxes of Battletech. Well, technically speaking, not all of this are actually starter box set, and you will learn why when we get there. But yeah, these are the 4 starter box set for Battletech, and I decided I want to open all of them. So if some of you want to get into Battletech like me, well, I hope that this video is going to be useful to you. And just to be clear, Catalyst Game Labs didn't sponsor this video. These boxes, I bought them myself. No free sample, no sponsorship, nothing. Just to be completely honest and straightforward with you. Alright, I have, as always, talked too much for the intro of this video. So let's start by opening the boxes, starting with this one, the Battletech Beginner Box. The Battletech Beginner Box. Now, if you ask to the Battletech community from which of these 4 starter boxes you should start if you want to get into Battletech, generally speaking, the community will suggest you to just skip this box right here, because this is a beginner box in the sense that this is aimed to those people who not only have never played Battletech, but generally speaking, never play a actual tabletop war game. So if you're a seasoned wargamer, you might want to skip this one, because in this box you are not going to get the proper Battletech rule set. This is the introduction of the introduction, if you understand what I mean. So unless you are a very beginner to the hobby in general, or a collector like me, this is why it's Corey Collect, the name of the channel, you might want to actually skip this box and buy the next one that I'm going to show you after this one. But I'm going to be honest with you, I not only think that you might actually want to buy this box, but I think that you should buy this box. The reason is that what you pay for this box is a very good price for the content of the box. This box cost $25. I ended up paying a little bit less because I got a little bit of a discount, but this is the price on the box right here, and I will tell you why I think you should actually buy it, even if you're a seasoned wargamer. So let's open it up and let me show you what's inside. Before I actually show you what's inside, I would like to tell you that every single box that I'm going to open in this video have roughly the same kind of thing inside. What I mean by that is that every box is going to have some miniatures, a couple of dice, some cards, a novel, a rule book, and cardboard token and a paper map, etc. So I'm not going to focus too much on those things when, you know, I'm going to open the third or fourth box. I'm just show you generally the thing here, but I'm going to focus more on other parts that I think are interesting for that specific box that I'm going to open after this one. Just want to tell you that. So, what's inside? The first thing you're going to see when opening the beginner box is a short novel written by William H. Keat called Golden Rule. Now, this is a 24 pages short novel that was originally published in Shrapnel, or in a magazine back in the 90s, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but they have republished here this novel here in the beginner box, and as I said, is a 24 pages long short novel. And I'm not going to review in detail the entire novel. Let me just say that it's pretty good. I mean, it's a 24 pages short novel. It's not like you're going to get a experience like when you read a 100-page book, etc. But, you know, this is a very good starter point to introduce you to the lore of Battletech, specifically what it means to be a mech warrior, a mech pilot, and specifically how horrible it is to be a mercenary in the Battletech universe, because in here a squad of mercenaries are featured and are tasked to a short, supposedly also easy, search and destroy mission, and it's not going in the way that they think it would. But I'm just going to stop there. I'm not going to spoil you the entire novel. I'm just going to say that, yeah, it's a pretty good, and I actually had a lot of fun. You can read it in less than an hour if you are a very slow reader like me. The next thing that you're going to find inside the beginner box are 8 double-sided mech record sheets. Now, these are not actually the official, quote-unquote, record sheets that you are going to normally use in a Battletech game. These are manufactured specifically for the beginner box, because with the rule set inside this introductory set, you are not going to get the entire rule set. You're going to get a very, very, very brief and vanilla introduction to the rule set of Battletech, and these record sheets are actually supposed to be used with the rule set you will find inside here. But nonetheless, these are not very different from the more, you know, structured, the official ones that you are going to actually use in your proper Battletech games. And you will find a list of all of the data of the specific mech feature in a record sheet. For example, you will find the model, the type of the mech, how much it can walk, how much it will run and jump, the tonnage, and the weapons and the armor diagram used to allocate damage to that mech. And you will find also on the back a cool artwork or a lore introduction to that mech. There are 2 record sheets for each mech, so in total 8, with 2 models per mech. So yeah, keep this in mind. These are used only here in this box. Then you will find 4 double-sided mech warrior cards. Now, these are cards that generally you will not use most of the time in your Battletech games, because these cards feature some optional rules that you might want to use that I also heard are not very balanced. It's just for fun, and basically in this card you will find a name character and the mech that they pilot. It's something that you are going to find in almost every Battletech box, also basically all the boxes that you will buy from Catalyst Games Lab, even the ones with only mechs inside, I think. But yeah, this is the very first type of card you will encounter here, and you will see that because there are more in the next box that I'm going to show you. Then you will find the most important part of this box, at least in my opinion, which are the miniatures. There are 2 miniatures inside this box, a Griffin and a Vindicator. Battletech is a 6mm tabletop war game, therefore, you know, these miniatures are tiny, technically speaking, when compared to the other miniatures that we usually play with, which are in 32 millimeters. But nonetheless, these miniatures are actually pretty good, very well detailed, and are pre-assembled and pre-based. They're also casted in hard plastic, but not as hard as the most common type of miniatures. I found this plastic to be a little bit more softer than usual, but nonetheless, these are pretty good models that do not require too much prep work if you want to paint them. There might be a little bit of a seam line here and there, and you might want to scrape that away or cut that away. I tried to use some files, but they didn't work very well because, again, I found this plastic to be a little bit more softer than the normal type of plastic that we usually work with. But now, for the sake of transparency, I actually have to say that I was very, very unlucky with these two miniatures inside this box, at least with one of them, because the Vindicator, I believe it's the name of the mech, that I found inside had a clump of cured glue on its left shoulder. And yeah, since these miniatures are pre-assembled in factory line, I guess, maybe some glue spilled a little bit and ended up on the shoulder of the mech. Not big of a problem, to be honest. Fortunately, I had the right tool for the job, which was a glue debonder, so I managed to remove the clump of glue from the mech, and unfortunately a little bit of the plastic melted due to the glue debonder, I think, but you are looking at the mech completely painted right now, and I believe that if I didn't tell you about this problem, no one of you would have ever noticed or think that I had a problem with it. And as a matter of fact, I actually never had a problem with all of the miniatures in all of the other boxes. This was the only time that I had this manufacturing defect, if we can call it this way. I don't know if a new hobbyist or wargamer would have been, you know, prepared for something like this, but I want to say that maybe I was very, very unlucky, and this is not common actually. Then you will find the rule set, a very, very small quick start rule set rule book, which is 12 pages long. It's very, very short, but I have to say it again, this is a beginner box aimed for those who have never even played, generally speaking, a war game. So this will introduce the concept of a war game to a newcomer, but in a Battletech fashion, point of view, whatever. What I mean is that the hobbyists that will try this rule set, well, they will meet concept that all of us wargamer already know, like, for example, moving your models, the direction in which your model is facing, shooting, allocating damage, and stuff like that, and also how to move around terrains and how your models interact with terrains, etc. There is also a cool scenario here and a very short cheat sheet at the 12th page of the rulebook, which is useful. Again, even if you are a seasoned wargamer, this will introduce you to some Battletech concept and rules. So even if you already know how to generally play a wargame, maybe you still want to buy this box. Also because, and maybe I forgot to mention this previously, but you can only buy the miniatures in this box by buying this box. You cannot buy them separately unless you buy them used or from third-party seller. I don't know, but I think that at least one of them might be a exclusive miniature for this box, and you can only find here when you buy this box, actually. Then there is a double-sided primer. Well, I call it primer even though they don't use this name here, but in the other three boxes this thing is called a primer, so I think this is the correct name. But what this is basically is a brief introduction to the Battletech universe, specifically the year 3025, called the Succession War era. Battletech is divided in 7 different eras. I will talk about that later in the video, but yeah, this is a very brief lore or universe introduction for Battletech. And last but not least, a cardboard sheets with some cardboard token, which are terrain and cardboard mechs, which is actually one of the coolest things of the box, to also have some cardboard mechs that you can actually use in your game, and these are actually official. I mean, you can play, I think, in official Battletech tournament with this cardboard mech, and they are actually pretty nice and cute, and I believe there are some people that actually collect this kind of mechs in the community, and I understand why, because they're very cool. And also a double-sided paper map with a hex pattern printed on it, one with a desert and the other one has a forest. Now, this is not the official size of a Battletech map. You will generally play with double the size of this one. But again, this is a small map because this is a beginner box with only 2 mechs. So this is designed to be used with 2 mechs only, or less than 4, I believe, or even with 4 mechs. I don't know, you can do whatever you want. I'm not your dad, but I think this is the reason why the map is so small. So this was the Battletech beginner box. What I think about this box? Well, it's a pretty good box. For $25 you actually get a lot of stuff, and I mean, just for the 2 miniatures and the dice and the map, I mean, the value is there. And I think that even if you are a seasoned wargamer that just want to get into Battletech, you might want to buy this one. At least I bought it, and I am satisfied with my with the box. And yeah, why not buy it? I ask. So this was the first box, the beginner box. Now we will get into the real, or what is referred as the real starter box set for Battletech, which is a game of armored combat. Now this is the actual starter box that the Battletech community refers to when someone asks where should they start. And spoiler, it is actually, at least in my opinion, one of the best box, if not the best box out of the entire Battletech product line, because here you will literally have everything that you need. Almost, but literally, almost literally everything that you need to play Battletech. And also more than the thing that you have already found maybe in the beginner box. Actually, even more than double than that, because you will have a basically completed rulebook, more cards, a bigger or more paper maps, dice, more miniatures, actually 4 times the amount of miniatures that you will find in the beginner box. It is just the best and most complete box that you will ever buy from Catalyst Games Lab. And I guess that I can talk about this box for an hour, but the best way to let you understand why I think this box is so great, I think that I should open it and show you what's inside. Like in the previous box, the first thing you will find here is a short novel, Ice Storm, which is from the same author of Golden Rule, and as a matter of fact, this is actually the follow-up from that short novel with the same protagonist and the same style of writing, which is, again, pretty good. Short novel, 24 pages, again, pretty nice. And, like in the previous box, we also have some cards. 16 cards this time. 8 double-sided Mech Warrior data card, like in the previous box, and a new type of card, which are the Alpha Strike card. Now, these cards, you are not going to use them with the rules that you will find in this box, because these cards are a type of cards that you will always and only use in the Alpha Strike rule set, which is a completely different rule set, but still in the Battletech setting. But I'm not going to talk about this card yet, because there is actually a starter box set for Alpha Strike, and I'm going to open that, as a matter of fact, for last. So we are going to talk about this card later in the video. Like in the previous box, there are also miniatures in here, but 8 this time, not 2, 4 times the amount of the beginner box. And this is one of the reasons, if not the reason why this is the best box in the Catalyst Games Lab catalog. The reason is that Battletech is a tabletop skirmish wargame, which means that you're going to play with a small amount of model, 4 to 5 mechs per player to be precise. Therefore, with 8 mechs here, you can share this box with a friend or a family member and you can start play Battletech together. And let me tell you, the miniatures in this box are amazing. My favorite models are the Catapult and the Commando, and the Catapult might be my absolute favorite out of the two because just look at it, it is a rocket platform with legs. How could you possibly not love something like this? And like the previous box and also the box that you will see after this one, the miniatures are cast in a not so hard gray plastic, pre-assembled, pre-based, very well detailed, and also with no issues like the one that I found, like the Vindicator that I found in the beginner box. Yeah, again, I was very unlucky with my Vindicator in the beginner box. I didn't have any problems in this case and the other two box after this one. But what is a starter box without a proper rulebook? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I actually think that this is one of the best rulebook that I have ever got inside a starter box. Why? Because here you will literally have almost every single rule that you need to play Battletech. Almost, because, spoiler, Battletech is not only a game of giant robots, well, primarily is a game when you play with giant robots, but you can also play with vehicles like tank, jet fighters, helicopters, and even foot soldiers. This is not the case, the rules are not so different, technically speaking, but there is also that possibility, and there are also different type of mechs or foot soldiers that might need a special kind of rules, but this is something that I will talk about in the next box. For the moment, this is the actual 99.9% complete rulebook, and to be honest, this is more than enough. You are going to play most of your Battletech game with this rule set. This is the only rulebook that you might need, technically speaking, to play Battletech. You don't need nothing more than this. And here you will see some concept and rules that you have already seen on the beginner box, concept like moving or the direction in which your mech is facing and shooting with your weapons, etc. But here there are also more aspect that goes a little bit more into details to make the game look a little bit more realistic, and some might say a little bit more complicated, but I have already played a game of Battletech, and after one single game I already basically understand every rule here, and even though these rules might look complicated at first, I will assure you that you will learn them in just a fraction of a minute, because these are so simple and so well written rules that it's actually so good, and well, so much fun playing this game. Also, there is another great thing about this rule book. Inside there are the rules that allow you to create your custom mechs. You heard me right. With this rulebook, you can just create a mech. The rules are here. And I got so surprised to see this from such a basic rulebook, because generally speaking, creating your own units in a war game is generally speaking something, well, advanced as a concept. But here you just have these rules and you can just do that out of the box. I don't know what else I have to say about the fact that this is one of the best rulebook that I have ever got from a starter box set. It's amazing. And last but not least, there are also some scenarios here that you might want to play. Another thing that is going to be required in your classic Battletech game are the mech record sheet, and this time we are looking at the proper mech record sheet, not the one that we saw in the beginner box. This one are the proper record sheet that you need to have in order to play Battletech, because here you have every stats of a specific mech or mech model. So, for example, the armor diagram or the internal structure diagram, also the heat data, the heat scale, and also the critical hit table. Therefore, when your mech get a critical damage, well, you have to throw your dice and see the result of those critical damage. And all of the other data, like, for example, the weapons or the mech warrior data with their piloting skill, because sometimes you were also required to make a pilot skill check to see if the mech just fall flat on the ground because your pilot didn't manage to keep control of the mech. Then there are all the things that we have already seen in the previous box. A cheat sheet, this time is a cardboard cheat sheet. A primer, but this time it's not a single paper sheet, it is actually a small book. In this primer you are going to get a more in-depth, let's just say, introduction to the Battletech universe, at least in more when confronted to the beginner box. For example, you are going to know about the different Battletech eras, which are 7s. Battletech is divided between 7 time period. I'm just going to name them very quickly. The first one is the Star League, then there is the Succession War, then the Clan Invasion, which is one of my favorite, the Civil War, the Jihad, which is my absolute favorite. Then there is the Dark Age and the Il Clan, IL Clan, which is the current time period in the Battletech universe. And very quickly, the only things that you might take into consideration about the Battletech eras is that with your opponent you want to decide in which era your game is set, because the more in the future you go, the more technologically advanced the mechs are. Therefore, you know, having a very super technologically advanced mech fighting a older model of mech, well, it's not a very fair fight, to be honest. So you might want to decide which type of mechs you're going to use and where those mechs, in which era this battle take place. Let's just put it that way. But this primer focused primarily on the year 3025, which is the Succession War era, early Succession War, if I'm not wrong, and also the different, let's just call it factions, that occupy the inner sphere. There are 5, and yeah, it's a very brief introduction to all of this, and also to the mercenary life. At the end of the primer there is also a page that explains what mercenaries in Battletech are, and are my favorite concept in the game. Spoiler. And last but not least, cardboard token, like the previous one, with terrain and cardboard mechs, and not 1 but 2 paper maps with a hex pattern printed on it. And this is the regular standard mat size for a Battletech game. These are just paper, and again, double-sided one with a forest on one end and a desert canyon kinda biome on the other. So, a game of Armor Combat starter box set. What do I think about this box? I already said it. It's the best box in the entire Catalyst Games Lab catalog. You will literally have everything that you need here inside this box for the price of $59.99, which is nothing compared to the quantity of things that you get inside here and the quality also. And if I have to be honest, maybe if I need to find a form of improvement for this box, I would say that maybe a couple of brushes and some paints will actually be beneficial, because therefore you're going to introduce also the painting part of the hobby. I don't think that they need to go overboard with it. I mean, again, a couple of synthetic cheap brushes, maybe a medium brush size and a small brush for detail, and a medium for the base coat, and 3-4 paints, like a brush on primer, a gray brush on primer, and the three colors, like, I don't know, red, blue, and yellow, let's just say. And this will just give a very gentle push toward the painting side of the hobby, which, I mean, sooner or later someone might want to try to paint their mechs, because gray mechs, cool and all, but painted mechs, that's absolutely the best thing ever when playing. I mean, I might be biased because I much prefer painting my miniatures than to play with my miniatures, but let me know what you think. If I really need to find a form of improvement for this box, this might be it. In this box, in the beginner box, maybe it's too early, I think, and on the other box, well, I don't think it's makes sense actually. This might be one of the best improvement for this box. If we really need to find a form of improvement, let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Alright, now let's move to the box that, even though I call starter set, it's not technically a starter set, which is the Battletech Clan Invasion starter box set. Now, why do I say that this is not, technically speaking, a starter box set? Because if you buy this as your first Battletech box, you will not be able to play the Battletech games, because the rulebook inside this box is not a complete rulebook like the one in the Game of Armored Combat box. This is a box themed around the Clan Invasion era, therefore the rules in this rulebook are specific to the mechs, or should I say omni-mechs, and foot troops of the clan. The clans, actually. And, well, let me just open it and I will show you what's inside. Again, like in the previous two boxes, a short novels, The Bounds of Battles by Blaine Pardoe, which is a Battletech author. He wrote some books and oh boy. Warning! You are about to listen to a brief political segment. If you don't feel comfortable or don't care, even though politics is literally the force that influences every aspect of our lives, including yours, skip to this time frame here. For those of you who have decided to stay, strap in because this is kind of depressing. Blaine Pardoe is not only a Battletech author, but one of the early freelance writers who contributed to many Battletech sourcebooks and novel, starting back in the 1980s. However, in 2022 he became the center of controversy in the Battletech community. Pardoe is a vocal conservative and strong Trump supporter, and between 2020 and 2022 his right-wing political view became increasingly extreme, veering dangerously deep into far-right territory. He became more outspoken about this view not only on his blog and social media, but also reportedly in some of his Battletech novels. And we're talking about homophobia, transphobia, racism, misogyny, anti-Black Lives Matter rhetoric, support for the January 6th insurrection, baking the Democrats stole the election in 2020 conspiracy, and, to top it off, a disturbingly romanticized view of the Confederacy from the American Civil War, often bordering on unironic apologism. All of this culminated in late July 2022, when Catalyst Game Labs issued a statement declaring they had terminated their relationship with Pardoe due to, and I quote, his online activities which do not align with Catalyst publishing vision. Now, I don't want to delve too deeply into this right now because this isn't the video for that discussion, but I think it's important to inform others about these events. If, like me, you're curious and want to learn more about the drama, I'll leave a couple of links in the description. As for my opinion on Blaine Pardoe, well, racist, homophobic, misogynistic Trump weirdos that tend to romanticize the Confederacy too much are not the kind of people I enjoy engaging with, let alone financially supporting by buying their books. And just like fascists, Nazis and Zionists, I wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. Therefore, needless to say, I 100% support Catalyst Games Lab's decision to distance themselves from Pardoe. That's it, end of the segment. Sorry, not sorry, let's move on. I'm getting tired of talking about this individual. Let's move on. I want to be very straightforward with you. I read this short novel before knowing who the author is. Therefore, my opinion is going to be completely unbiased, and as a matter of fact, I actually liked this novel. It does a very well job to introduce the reader to the clan invasion. More specifically, how terrifying it is for a mech warrior of the Inner Sphere to fight against the omni-mechs of the clans. Let me tell you, it's horrible. More cards. I'm not going to focus on this one because are the same card with different characters and mechs on it, like the previous boxes. And the mechs. Now, the miniatures inside the box are like the previous one, but you're not going to have 8 mechs, but rather you're going to have 5 mechs. Now, the mechs are the omni-mechs, which are the specific type of mechs that the clans use. My favorite is the Timberwolf. Reason is that it is a catapult with arms, easy as that. And with the mechs, there are also 2 units of foot soldiers that are called elementals. Now, the best way that I think I can briefly explain to you what elementals are, well, they are basically Space Marines from Warhammer 40k, but in Battletech. They are genetically enhanced humans, and they are clad in power armor, and their fighting style is basically to get close and personal with the enemy's mechs and swarm them, tearing their armors apart. As I said, the Clan Invasion rulebook is not a complete rulebook. It is focusing only on the omni-mechs of the clans and also the elementals, giving you the rules to play with these units. You're not going to have the complete rule set like in the Game of Armor Combat box. This rulebook will illustrate you the different type of weapons and equipments of the omni-mechs and also the special rules for the elementals, their playstyle, the rules that you are going to apply and use for this units when you are going to use them. And, like in the previous rulebook, there are also rules to build your custom omni-mechs from the clans. It is a rulebook, a not complete rulebook, that it's focusing specifically on the omni-mech of the clan invasion era. Keep that in mind. The rest of the things in this box, we have already seen them, but this time are themed around the clan invasion. So we have the omni-mech record sheet, which are like the Inner Sphere mech record sheet. Then we have a primer that is focusing, guess what, on the clan invasion era. And it will illustrate the lore of this time period and also the different clans that start invading the Inner Sphere, like the Smoke Jaguar, the Ghost Bear, the Jade Falcons. And I just love the cheesiness of their name, focusing on animals. And yeah, to be honest, I actually like the clan invasion era because of all the culture shock from that is perceived from the Inner Sphere, because when the clan invade the Inner Sphere, they come from outside the Inner Sphere. At the beginning of the invasion, the humans of the Inner Sphere think that the clanners are aliens because their technology is so much advanced than one of the Inner Sphere that they struggle a lot to fight against the clans. And I just love it as a concept, and I just love the cheesiness of the kind of chivalric type of fight that the clans use. And it's a pretty good era, in my opinion. One of my absolute favorite is the Jihad. But Clan Invasion, it's also one of the best ones. The other things are a cardboard cheat sheet, double-sided, 2 paper maps, some cardboard token with terrain and cardboard mechs. The only thing that is different, and it's actually a pretty good one, is this big, huge, glossy, double-sided poster, where on one side there is the Inner Sphere map and the other one the Inner Sphere map during the clan invasion. So the first one is during the year 3025, and in the second one the year is the 3052. Alright, hopefully this was a short one, because the video is going to be extremely long. But anyway, what do I think about this box? Well, it's a good box, but it's not a proper starter box. This is more of a second step into your Battletech journey, this is just an upgrade. Because, well, when you start with the game of Armored Combat, you already know the rules of the game, and then you want to try something different, and therefore you go into the Clan Invasion era, and you might want to try some Omni-mechs and see how they perform and their fighting style. And this box is the best one to just start and understand different Battletech eras. So yeah, good box for $49.99. I guess it is a pretty good box, and I don't think that needs any kind of improvement because it's not actually required. This is just a step forward, a plus, after the previous box. So I bought it because I want more miniatures and more things to collect. You might not want to, but I think you should after you have played and maybe painted the mechs from a game of Armored Combat and the beginner box. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Alright, last box, and this is a big one. This is the Alpha Strike Starter box set. Now, if you remember, like 4 hours ago, I guess, at this point in the video, I said that Battletech is a tabletop skirmish war game where you are going to play with 4 to 5 mechs per player. But what if you want to play with more mechs and you want a bigger scale battle? Well, you might use the standard Battletech rules, but that's going to take you like hours. Or you can try the Alpha Strike rule set, which is a rule set specifically designed to play bigger battles with more mechs, generally speaking like 12 mechs per player, 10 to 12 mechs. But the thing is that it's not going to take that amount of time, hours. I mean, you are going to spend the same amount of time that you might spend playing the classic Battletech game with 4 to 5 mechs per player, because this is a very, very different and very, very streamlined kind of rule set, but still for Battletech. And it's also the box featuring the biggest amount of mechs out of the 4. There are 13, 13 mechs inside this box. So maybe if you don't want to buy it because you don't actually care playing Alpha Strike, you might want to buy this box because you want more mechs. But let's open it up and let me show you what's inside. Another 24 pages short novel called Chaos Theory, but this time the author is Brian Young, and the time period in which this novel is set is the Ill Clan period era, the last one, the current one in the Battletech setting. Alright, the cards, and again, we have some Mech Warrior data cards, but now I can actually talk about the Alpha Strike cards, which are also in this box. Well, of course, because this is the Alpha Strike starter box. Now, these cards are actually the substitute for the Mech datasheet, the big Mech datasheet with all those datas that I showed you before. You are going to use this instead. And these are a more streamlined kind of datasheet because there are way less information than the regular one. So, for example, the movement, the roll of the Mech, the damage that the Mech can deal, but split it into 3 different tiers: the small range, medium range, and long range type of damage, and also the hit scale and the critical hits table, but it is a way more tinier one than the regular one in the white datasheet. And yeah, this is everything that you need to play Alpha Strike, these cards featuring the mechs or the mechs type. But there is actually a third type of cards, this time called Alpha Strike Battlefield Support cards. What are these cards? Well, you might see them as stratagem like the one that you might use in Warhammer 40k. Basically, every card does have a cost, and the players might agree to an amount of points that they can spend in this type of card, and this card provides like supports, either be by jet fighters or long-range artillery, just to spice up the game a little bit in Alpha Strike. I don't know actually if Battletech players that prefers to play Alpha Strike actually use these cards. I don't know, also because I haven't played a game of Alpha Strike yet. I might be in the future, and so I don't know how common these cards are. Let me know down in the comments if you actually play more Alpha Strike than Classic Battletech, and how many times you actually use these cards, because I'm really curious about it. But the actual reason that you might want to buy this box are the miniatures, because as I said, there are 13 here, 13 mechs, pre-assembled, pre-based mech, both Omni mechs and Inner Sphere mechs. Now, at this point, if you, like me, have bought the previous 3 boxes, well, you are already collecting a pretty huge amount of mechs, and with this, you are just going to expand your collection even more. But I want to let you know that inside this box are featured 3 mechs that you have already got in the previous 3 boxes, which are the Locust, the Timberwolf, and the Nova, if I remember correctly. This is something that I just wanted to let you know, because maybe you don't want to have the same mech twice for 3 different mechs, but it's not actually a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal or a problem, to be honest, at least for me, because even though you will have, for example, 2 Locusts, well, you can play those 2 Locusts with different weapons loadouts, because there are different type of Locust in the Battletech universe, so not that big of a deal, to be honest with you. Now I'm just going to skip the things that we have already seen, for example the primer, but this time is focusing on the Ill Clan era, and the cardboard cheat sheet, and also the paper map, which it's not actually in this box. Because, well, one of the main difference in Alpha Strike, beside playing with more mechs and using a more streamlined datasheet, well, you are going to move your mechs like a classic tabletop war game with a ruler. The mechs will move in inches, not in hexes. This is one of the main difference of this game. It's also featured in the rulebook here, which I haven't played, like I just said. But for what I got by reading the rule set really quickly, it's that this is a classic tabletop war game with concept like moving with inches, shooting, etc., but with some Battletech core concept like the heat scale and the critical damage, etc. The main difference here is that you are going to... This is a more traditional kind of war games approach. A huge difference in the cardboard token part of this box is that we are going to get some proper 3-dimensional cardboard terrain like buildings, and also some cardboard trees, alongside with some tokens that are specifically used in Alpha Strike, like for example there is an explosion template, some objective tokens, and also some tokens that will remind you how much your mech has moved. Therefore you are going to apply some advantage or disadvantage when your mech is shooting or it's getting shot at. So the Alpha Strike starter box set, what do I think? It's a pretty good box. It's the box that cost more when compared to the other 3 that I showed you before. This one cost $79.99, which I think it's a pretty good price for the amount of miniatures that you get inside this box, and also a complete new different rule set that you might want to try and maybe like. Who knows? I haven't played a Alpha Strike game yet. I don't know if I'm going to like it. For what I could say, I think it's pretty fun and pretty also quick to play, to be honest. I will have to try it out. So let me know if you actually think that this is a very good value for this kind of box, for the content of this box. Let me know. I think it's actually a pretty good one. Woo! So my friends, this is the end of the video. I hope it's not going to be like 3 hours long, but I'm afraid it is going to be like a 40-minute at least kind of video. I hope not. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. I also would like to know if you like this new location. This is my basement where I keep my tabletop game and my rulebook here, and more things that you are not seeing because are outside of the camera frame. Let me know, because if you like this location more than the hobby table, I might do more videos here instead of the hobby table, but the hobby table is not going to go away. I will still do my videos there, and sometimes I might also do some videos here. Let me know down in the comments. One more thing, go down in the description. There are a couple of links, one for my Instagram, where sometimes I post pictures of my painted miniatures, and also a way to support me if you want. And I think that that's it. This is everything that I wanted to say about my channel, this video, etc. And yeah, this is the end. So my friend, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. And hope to see you the next time. I'm Corey. Ciao, ciao.